Well, hello, it's Donna here from Blind and Knitting. What do you think of my new promo at my beginning of my video? I was so proud of it. My niece put it together for me. I messaged her and I said, hey, what do you think? Do you think you can put something together for me for Blind and Knitting? And she said, yeah, I'll have a play. And she's come up with that and I'm absolutely chuffed with it. So thank you, Brittany. Really lovely to know that family members done it as well. So that's my beginning of my Blind and Knitting. So welcome, Donna from Blind and Knitting. So I am Donna. This is my little part of the world. My world has changed a bit. I'm sitting in a different place and I'll explain why soon. I usually sit in the lounge, but I am session 13, lucky for some. So today is number 13 of my podcasts, and I'm really excited to share my bits and pieces of knitting with you. I really am passionate also about mental health. I hope that I can give you some tips along the way about that. But also, I am legally blind, so I only have a really tiny view of vision, just very small. So thankfully, I can look at the points of my needles with lots of help and light, etc. So I'm still able to knit, and a lot I do by feel because I've been knitting really since I was 4. So 22 years? Not. A lot more years than that. So yeah, I've been knitting for well over 50 years. So I do a lot by feel. But yeah, so blind mental health knitting. That's what you'll get on this podcast. And every now and then I'll throw in a little bit of, Kenzie, my guide dog. I haven't actually introduced you officially to Kenzie yet. And I don't even know where she is today because my partner's just finished our chook run. So we don't have chooks around the house anymore. They're in their own run. Yay! It's taken a while. But it just meant that we couldn't have doors shut and our doors open without us watching them because the chooks would just come in. So the doors are all wide open and I don't know where Kenzie is because she's enjoying the choice of open doors. So I'll introduce you officially to her soon. So this is actually nearly 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, nearly 3. And I make no apologies because we are all in a difficult position, aren't we? I had COVID, I've had surgery, and to be honest, I've just super struggled with fatigue. It's a fatigue at an all different level. And I know a lot others are feeling the same because I work in the field. I'm a social worker, so I work with people that are struggling. So I hear it a lot. And just be kind on yourself, guys. You're out there struggling with fatigue. Just do what you can. And I that's what I've been doing. I've really some days I just can't. I just can't lift my arms just to do anything. And other days I feel really good, but then I'm starting to feel good. In fact, I think I might have said last podcast, but I can't remember. I've decided the week before is my 1st of January. I've just started afresh. My whole year started 2 weeks ago, because it's been a shit show, to be honest. And so I just started afresh. So I'm this is a new year. So I started getting all excited and going out and doing things. And I went to the Martinborough Fair, which is a huge fair that happens once a year or twice a year usually, but I think it's only once a year at the moment, in Martinborough, close to us, which has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stalls. It's huge, and it was really, really good. But I slept for 10 hours solid when I got there that night. I screenshot my phone app that says how long I've slept and sent it to my sister the next day. And I said, what have you done to me? 10 hours. And then the next weekend I went somewhere and did something for the day. I'm trying to think what it was now. And I can't remember. But I slept for 11 hours straight. So, yeah, there's my mental health tip, really, right from the beginning of the show. Just be kind on yourselves. Let yourself sleep those extra hours if you need. Go to bed early if you need. I went to bed at 7 o'clock one night, and I felt a bit silly doing it, but by golly, yeah. Anyway, that's enough about fatigue. It's a knitting show after all. So I'm sitting in a new place, as you can see, and this is probably where I'll be doing my podcast from now on. So I've had a shuffle of rooms around because my sister-in-law shifted, as I've mentioned previously, and so it means that I've got my craft room back. I will miss Heather a lot, but I am loving having my craft room. And in the last podcast, I said I had ordered some of those cubicles that a lot of people, especially behind them, have with the all wool in. And I was waiting for it to come because I was all excited having these cubicles. But I got an email saying I can't get them. And probably due to COVID, that they just can't come into the country, can't get them here. So I've had to live with a bit of a mess on my bed, a spare bed, while I'm trying to reshuffle everything to fit it. Hopefully I'll put a photo in here of what the bed looks like at the moment. Yeah. So, yeah, I've got a shelf over here that I've got all my craft stuff on, but of course it's too small and nothing fits, and I've had to really juggle it. I might need to say I am Donna, and I am addicted to craft materials. Just got so many of them. So I'm trying to put them in some sort of order. I'm trying to have like the artwork there, because at one stage I got right into doing, art, and then I'm trying to have the wool dyeing there because that's something I'm really keen to get into soon. And then I've got, what else have I got there? All my wool, obviously, which isn't going to fit because I have too much wool. My stash is huge. And my sewing gear and my embroidery gear, which I really should give away because I just don't think I can do embroidery now with my eyesight. But I don't know, I just can't seem to let it go. Anyway, I am shuffling rooms around. I'm hoping that I can show you on here what I'm doing. I keep looking over here, and it's because I keep looking at my shelves and my mess. And I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have turned the other way around. Oh, but then you'd be looking at my mess while I'm talking to you, and that's probably not good either. It's better that you look at my peace lily, which is actually doing particularly well in this room. It wasn't looking so grand out in the lounge, and I've moved it in here, and it's enjoying it here, so the light might be really good for it. I do have I'm going to hang just above me on the walls at the back, and I'll show you these because before I hang them up, I'm going to photocopy them. My sister brought me this. I actually think she bought it at the Martinborough Fair a few years ago. I've had it a few years ago now, but it's the coolest thing. It's a tape measure, and it's got on it, little tiny, they look like, if you can, let's see if I can show you that, patterns, old-fashioned patterns. So somebody's obviously found old patterns and photocopied them and shrunk them down to make, even on the back, they're stuffed, so they feel like they've got pattern pieces in them, and they're done. And it's just the neatest wall hanging. So I'm going to put this up here. I think that'll look quite good. Hung at the back there. It was in my other room, but because the other room was so crammed with stuff, you never really saw it. But what a neat gift idea. So if you've got a tape measure and some old patterns that you can shrink down into this size and make this, what are they called, bunting, make some bunting. It's such a great idea, and I just love it. And so I'm going to put that up behind me. And the other thing I usually have up on the wall, which is a friend of mine who used to own and used to do my nails years ago, and had a florist shop and is very clever, made this, and I bought this off her, and it is made out of paper, little dresses, and they're pegged onto some cute little pegs, wooden pegs. Can you see? Oh yeah, there we go, you can see those. So just 3 really cute little dresses hung up. So that's another little hanging that I will hang up in my new craft area. So I'll get those up, but I think I will try and take a photocopy of the little, I don't really want to open them all out, but I will take a photocopy of those, and one day, I'll just put it on my shelf. That's another to-do job. Yeah, so getting there with my craft room, being quite productive in a very slow and methodical way, because I've really tried hard to pace myself with this jolly fatigue. So knitting, what have I got on? I have my Gemini on, and I do love the colour of this. I love red. I love the pattern. I made it too big but you know, it just kind of is, that's what its style is for me now. It's not too big at the bottom, so I like, you know, it sits nicely, and I love this pattern, but it is too big here, and you've probably seen me keep hoisting it up. So one of the reasons I'm wearing it is because later on I'm going to talk a bit about repairing and fixing some of my knits, sort of ready for winter. So I'll talk about this then as well. So I do like it, but it's gonna have a little fixie, and I'll talk about that later. So this is the Gemini by Jane. Let me check my notes so that I get it right. Jane. Lost it. Jane Richardson. Yeah, Jane Richardson. Beg your pardon, Richmond, Jane Richmond, and it's Gemini. And I know that my fitting hasn't been great, and that's one of the learning things. But I think if it fit beautifully, it's a stunning, lovely pattern, and I think I will make it again. This is 100% cotton, and last year I sort of talked about every garment I made. I really wanted to push the boundaries a wee bit, and hence having to sort of fix things, I think, just to learn more about what wools do what and what patterns do what, and just to really experiment. So 100% cotton was an experiment with this pattern, but I think this would be a stunner in wool, so I will make it again. And this is fixable, this big gaping neck. So yeah, there we go. So that's Jane Richardson's Gemini, and I'll put the link down below in the description notes, which I got better at doing, I have to say. I'm starting to learn this podcast stuff, you know, trying to put photos in over here, and having my new beginning and end, which I'm really looking forward to putting on this one, and having descriptions down the end. Not so great on the Ravelry page, but you know, you just do what you can. Just, you know, be kind on yourself. Exactly what I'm saying. That's my tip for the day. Yeah, see, I just keep pulling this up. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. So what have I, finished objects? Yay, I have a finished object. I'll get it. And I said last podcast I was going to belt this out and get it done, and I have. It's my Seisha, which is a Libby Johnson pattern. It's not out for public yet. It's just in her wardrobe toolbox, so you can't get the pattern yet, sorry, but it's just lovely. I've really done, I love it. You can see the movement in this wool. I'll talk about the wool in a minute. So the pattern itself has a nice little lace panel down the sleeves. It's very simple, and I have made some moderations. I've done some changes, or mods, as some of the knitters and podcasts call it. I've done some mods, and I'll talk about those. I think what is the most stunning thing about this garment is the wool, though. The wool is a Happy Go Knitty wool, which is a New Zealand indie dyer, Helene, and it is a merino silk yak mix. I mean, you can tell by how it just moves, and oh, it's stunning. And so I've worn this. I wore it to work yesterday. So comfortable, didn't even know I had it on, really, because it just really was comfortable. So the pattern, as I was knitting it, and I think I talked about this in the last podcast, the neckline looked huge. And because of this, I was probably really conscious of it, because I thought, oh, I've fallen into that trap of another huge neckline that's just not going to sit nicely. So I thought, right, well, you know, Donna, you can do this. Let's do some modifications. Did I say modifications before, or did I say moderations? Oh my golly. Modifications. So let's do some modifications on this and make sure it fits properly. So I finished it. It was an A-line. Now, I didn't do A-line because I'm very much an hourglass, and A-lines probably don't suit me so well. However, now that I know how the wool falls, I kind of wish I had, because I think an A-line, isn't that funny? You should really respect the pattern and the designer from the start, because they do know what they're talking about. I did a 3/4 sleeve, and on the sleeve it has a little twisted rib and then the curl. And I thought, oh, I like that. And I thought, when I went to do the neck, when I picked up much less. So I sat down and worked out how many stitches I was supposed to pick up, and then how big the neckline was, and then I picked up less stitches around, but I thought, and it was only just a little knitted curl end, and I thought, no, I really like that twisted rib, so I'm going to put that on as well. So I added that to the neck as well, which wasn't in the pattern. And I'm super happy with the neckline. It just sits beautifully. It's perfect size. The only thing, and this is a learning thing, this is one of those things I should have, and I'm a sewer, and I've knitted for years. You think I'd know. But I measured it, I knitted it, I had the right length. The length was supposed to be perfect for me. But of course, after I decreased and took in the neckline, the length went up. So it's probably a smidge shorter than I would have liked it. So it doesn't look so great. As we get older, we get sort of the mummy tummies, and it doesn't look so grand on that. But it'll look stunning with what I'm going to do is make a pair of cream linen trousers. I think that'll look really smart. Some sort of loose palazzo shape linen trousers with pockets in the side. And I think that'll look really super with this. Now, I love this. It's soft, so soft to wear, and it's so warm, but it's also breathes. So I hardly knew I had it on the other day, and I took one of my scarves and just wrapped it around when I got a bit cold. Not a knitted one, it was a pashmina one, and it looked grand. And I went out, so I worked all day in an office with it beautifully, and then I went out for dinner, and I threw my pashmina around my neck on it. So it's a really versatile knit. Super happy with it. But the wool does make it. So that's Happy Go Knitty. Oh, it's here. Happy Go Knitty. That's her logo, if you can see that. But I will link it behind. It's called Mardi. It's a 4-ply, and it's just beautiful. So I've got a whole skein left. But I know what I'm going to do with it, and I think it'll look good with this too. I saw on a podcast the other day, and it's I'll talk about it later in a future podcast because I'm going to cast it on. But it's a shawl, but it's kind of what are they calling those poncho shawls? Poncho, or it's a shawl and a poncho crossed together, and it's done in. And I think it'll look good in this wool, striped with another one that I'm hopefully going to dye, and wear it with this. So that's the goal. So that's my FO, is this, and it's just so light and it's beautiful. Really, really happy with it, and particularly happy with the neck, and because, as I've said, I've had some grief with some necks, and that's why I'm wearing this, to show you. So that's my only FO, but I am still working on, and I won't go into detail on this because, oh gosh, this is really annoying. Because I've talked about this heaps, and I haven't done a great deal more. I'm still on Sleeve Island, but I am getting there. Yeah, I've done, so last time I spoke we were here, and I'm now there. Great tip, and I did it on the Māori, on the Sesha as well, that I got from another podcast. It was actually a New Zealand woman, Lisa, who has a podcast, Unwind and Knit with me, as well, and I think it was Lisa. Anyway, so putting the markers on as I do my decreases on the sleeve, which is great. So what I did is I actually counted how many markers I needed beforehand and set them beside me. So I've still got some beside me, but it was so much better than having to every now and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've still got 5 to go. It was like, oh, just got 5 markers still left. So really great idea. And then what I did when I knitted the second sleeve on my Sesha is I took the marker off the sleeve of this sleeve, put it on the new sleeve. So you knew you didn't have to recount all your markers. You had your markers there. And yeah, so what a great idea. So that's kind of been a good learning. That's been one of my tips that I've picked up in a podcast that I really, really like and will keep doing, is count the markers first have them sitting beside me, use them, and then you can monitor how much you've got to go. It's quite a good way of doing it. Then when you do the second sleeve, take the marker off here and put it onto your second sleeve, and then you'll be able to go through and won't have to keep counting things. So yeah. One of the interesting things I've discovered, and I don't know, it's really frustrating, and I don't know if you guys have found it either, is I try and keep the needles that I knit with, like when I do the rib, or if there's a different size needle that you use within the pattern, in the bag with with everything at the wool, so that I don't have to search for the needles when I go to do the ribbon. So I thought I'd done that with this one, but maybe I used them, but I hadn't. And because of my sight, do you think I can read the number on there? So there's no way I can read what size, and I can kind of judge what size they are. But so I got my little measuring thing out that we've all got, those ones with the holes all through them. 2 needles, 2 different sizes, but that one was too big for one size and that one was too small for the other size. So which size do you take them as? So I thought, oh, that's annoying. So I got all my other needles out, put them all through. Some of them fit really snugly, some of them fit really loosely. And I knew that they were a pair because I used my camera, which is another tip. I use my camera, take a photo of something I need to look at, and so I could read the site. So for example, I had taken a photo of 2 needles. They both had 8mm written on them, 4mm written on them. And I went to measure them, and one was 3.75 and one was a very tight 4. And I thought, so then I got confused because I know I did this on a 4mm, and I think I'm doing these more on a 3.75, but one fits the 4 loosely. Anyway, I'm rattling on, but it was frustrating. It is still frustrating. I don't know whether it is because I only use Knit Pro Eddies, which I love, but they're obviously not exact, and I'm not an exact knitter either. It's like, so if I've used 4 on there and 3.75, it's such a minute amount, and I mean, honestly, you can't tell. You probably could, but I can't tell. My mother always used to say, a blind man to be pleased to see it. But if some patterns, for example, the Sesha, you use 3 different sizes. So and I can't remember what they were now. So maybe it was a 275 to knit the garment, a 250 to do the rib, and then a 225 to do the curly bit. I think that was right. And yeah, I measured all of them, and I can tell you that some of the 225s could quite easily have passed as a 250 in my measuring thing, and vice versa. So I don't know if anyone else has found that, but yeah. So my Embers, which is also Libby Johnson, it's not out for public. I'm sorry again, but I'm absolutely loving that. Looking forward to it, and I'm pleased. I will, really get into that now because it's getting cold. It is the 12th of May today, I think, 12th of May, and our winter is the first day of winter is the first day of June. So we are, although it's a stunning day today, it's just beautiful out there. It's bright blue sky, but it's actually a really cold wind, and the mornings are cold. So, we're dropping down to -3, -4 in the mornings, but we're having sort of 19 and 20 Celsius in the afternoon. So getting lovely days, but really cold mornings. Won't be long, and it'll just be super cold. Not as cold as some of the podcasts I watch where you've got snow up to your windows, but cold enough to want to wear a jersey out. So I'll get it done for that. I do have a cast on, so I have cast on a ranunculus, which I think most knitters know. So I haven't done a lot. I've just done the neckband, and I've just done an increase row, and then I'll get into it. Great big needles, huge fat needles, so it's just going to fly by. Most people know about a ranunculus, I'm putting two together, and I've talked about this in the last podcast, so I don't want to go on in detail. This is a lovely merino, 100% merino, that I brought two Jersey lots by accident and didn't want to waste it. It's got some really pretty flecks in it, sort of purple and sort of rust, and it's a smoky pinky colour. And then this is just a FOMO. If you remember, I said it's from the not warehouse, from Spotlight in New Zealand. Don't know if you've got them anywhere else, but Spotlight, it was cheap as chips. So it's a imitation mohair, and I'm just mixing the two together, which is making a lovely combination. So quite happy with that. Never made a ranunculus before, and again, I'm not going to do it boxy because that doesn't work for me, and I'm not going to do that great big, size. I don't want a whole lot of positive eaves in it. I'm just going to go for, 2 to 4 inches positive eaves is oodles. So I'll fill you in more and more as I go with that. Because of my fatigue, I started casting it on, and it said do a twisted rib, and I just couldn't be bothered. Isn't that awful? Yet my fatigue was so much that I couldn't be bothered moving my needle that way and twisting it in rather than that way and just putting it in. So I didn't do a twisted rib. I just did a plain rib on the neck, and I figured it sounds to me like I'll probably be making more, because everybody that I hear makes ranunculuses or love note, two which are very similar, I believe, make more. So the next one might have a twisted rib on it. But yeah, I think I'll enjoy just a bit of speed in that and get it going. So that's my only cast on at the moment, but I've got 3. I sat down the other night and I got all of my bags clear, so I took all the needles out of the ones that I don't need anymore and put them away, and I set all my bags up with the new walls in them for future knits, and printed off the pattern, so they're all just sitting there. So I'll have some cast-ons along the way to talk about soon, but I don't want to bring them all in too quickly, otherwise there'll be nothing to talk about. However, I don't seem to have a problem. So that's my ranunculus. I'll link the pattern below, but I do believe that most people know the ranunculus, and it's Hidori Medora Hiroso, I think is the name of the lady that does them. But it's a beautiful pattern. Looking forward to it. Where's my notes? Where did I put my notes? Can't find them. I'll just keep talking. So the next one, this is coming back to this again. So, it's really annoying me. You can see I'm hoisting it up. And what happened is that I like to sort of check that all my knits are ready for winter, and you can just pull them out and wear them comfortably. And I was wearing my Bentley, which is here, last podcast. And I saw myself keep pulling it over and over as I was doing the podcast. And so that's why I bought this, to show you. Must be annoying, but hey ho. And I thought, that's really annoying. So I was watching Libby Johnson. She has what do you call it? Sort of a podcast thing on Facebook on Thursdays, so anyone can go and see. And she held up a jersey that she had put 2 rows of shirring elastic in the neck for. And then she held up another jersey that she had crocheted along that line there, so the seam line, to give it some structure. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got my Bentley out. This is my mission today, because it's quite cold. It's a beautiful day, but it's still cold, and it's supposed to rain all weekend. Yes, good knitting weather. Most of us knitters always love a good rainy day. So my mission is, I'm going to crochet along that line to give it some structure, because it's all knitted in one and it's just got no structure. It just keeps pulling loose. And then I'm going to run some shirring elastic, 2 rows of shirring elastic, one at the top and one halfway down ish, something like that, to pull the ribbing in a bit. And I think that'll bring that neckline in a bit, and stop it. It'll bring it in, because it just seems to be hanging. It's I'm sure anyone that follows me will know this well, because I've I've knit it very early in the piece, but I've worn it a lot, and I've worn it on podcasts. So it's a lovely cardigan, and I want to keep wearing it because I just love it. But the neckline has sort of come out too much. So that's my mission for that one. I'm going to make some more structure in the ribbing and draw it on with some shirring elastic. And I think that will really help a beautiful cardigan that I love wearing. And so I wore this for the same reason, just to talk about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet, I'm going to add to, so this is knitted, but it's got, if you can see, some really cool pattern on it. So I'm going to crochet around the square neckline and across the back and make it fairly firm. So it's going to draw it in and make it firmer. So I'm just going to do, I don't know whether I'll do treble or double crochet. I'll play with that and have a look. I'm not sure, but draw it in and maybe do, so it adds a centimetre or two, but also just brings it in, makes it tighter and gives it some structure, because I'll wear it more. I do love it. I know I've made it too big, but I'm just calling that sleeve a feature. You know, it's a sort of a bat wing, but I could have made it a bit bigger actually, longer. But anyway, it's kind of a bat wing. It fits nicely under here, fits nicely on the boobs. It's a good length. This will pull it up, and I'll wear it more. So those are my two missions this today, and then my next mission for the weekend is I might cast on another one, something else, because I've got a couple of really cool ones that I'm itching to cast on. So what I like to do is have something complicated. So the ranunculus, once I've got through the yoke, it'll just be knitting. So I will cast on something once I've got to that, and I just will potter on with my sleeve island on my embers, because it's going to be a very warm jersey. And so once the sleeves are done on that, then I need to learn, that'll be a learning thing, is steeking. So it's a steeked cardigan pattern, and I've never done steeking, so that'll be something to look forward to. That's my knitting world. I'm really excited. I've just, I love the thought of coming into colder weather. What are the Americans got? Sweater weather. So it's definitely going to be sweater weather. And I've got some exciting wools that I brought some time ago that I just am so keen to cast on and get knitting. So you do tend to sort of knit earlier because it gets darker earlier, and you do tend to knit a little bit longer because it's cold and you've got the fire going, and in the weekends when there's not a lot happening, you snuggle up and watch good TV and knit. So that's all my knitting, I think. And the purchase is, I told you ages ago that I had brought on sale some plain undyed wool from Skeins. Skeins is a company in New Zealand, Napier Way, that makes beautiful undyed wool, merino. Some of it's superwash and some of it's not, and some with nylon. And so I'm going to get into some dyeing, because I went to that dyeing workshop, and so I brought some dyes. So I brought all of the colours, basically blue, brown, emerald, black, green. There's some dark ones there, isn't there? I'm sure there's yellow, and there's red, magenta. So yeah, I'm going to have a play, but not at the moment. I will wait a little while. I think I just need to be kind on myself and just enjoy the knitting and get this abominable mess behind you cleaned up and sorted into some sort of manageable thing. So that is all of my FOs, whips, cast-ons, purchases. Yeah, it's been a good week. Although I've only got the one FO, which is okay. I know what I wanted to talk to you about, and that again is ill-fit stuff. So, well, it's not ill-fit, it's not fair. So I made my Paris de jour, and it's a beautiful, beautiful shawl, and I just love it, and it's a stunning colour, and I hadn't blocked it but I had been wearing it, and then I thought, oh, I must block this because, you know, everybody says you better block it because it's lace, and so I blocked it. Of course, it stretched heaps, and I don't mind because I'm a big, and I'm 6 foot. I've got huge arms. I can carry a big shawl, but so I wore it the other week, and I couldn't work out which. It's a triangular one. I couldn't work out which triangle was the one for around the back and the ones to spin round because they all were the same length. They were all hugely long. So when I put it round, I had this monstrous triangle at the front, or as I used it as a shawl, a great big huge one at the back. So I've really got to play. I'll have to style play, I think, and work out how I'm going to wear it, and whether that's, because I might have to scrunch it up a bit first and then put it on because it's just stretched so big. Yeah, I had like a tail hanging down when I had it round my shoulders, and so that was interesting. And in hindsight, I kind of wished I hadn't blocked it, but I'll find a way to wear it. I'll just have to have a play. I really will. Sorry, that was just somebody coming onto online. I did have do not disturb on. Anyway, I think I've finished. I hope you've enjoyed that. I just love chatting. If you want to watch again, please subscribe down below, and yeah, you'll find me on what's it called, Instagram, as Blind and Knitting, and yeah, we'll catch you later. Bye for now.